Cell Systems, Section 3. Last time we looked at how transport and digestion work to help overcome the matter/material problem that cell systems face. This time we're going to tackle the energy problem, and we're going to start with photosynthesis. As you can see in this diagram, photosynthesis begins by drawing water up into the plant. We saw that with transport yesterday or last time. That water moves up, up, up through the plant and into all the cells of the plant. At the same time, the leaves are taking in CO2 from the air, coming in through small pores on the bottom of the leaf. The leaves also have a protein called chlorophyll in their chloroplasts that allow them to collect and transfer solar energy. What are they going to use that energy to do? As we saw with the challenge problem, they're going to use it to combine CO2 and at least the hydrogen of water to make sugars. And as they use that energy to make sugars, they split the water, and the oxygen that they don't use, they release. And so they are putting oxygen back into the air. The sugars that they make, they use for themselves, for their own cell energy and for growth. Photosynthesis therefore solves part of the energy problem and part of the matter problem. It collects and transfers solar energy and uses it to make sugar molecules that the cell can actually use for its energy production. And the sugar molecules are made using carbon dioxide atoms from the air and hydrogen atoms from the water, which allows matter to cycle through the ecosystem and uses that matter, the CO2 and the H, to build mass for the plant. What form of energy powers this amazing process? It is solar powered from the sun or other light sources. And what energy molecule does photosynthesis produce? It produces sugars, which it can use to make larger molecules like starch. It doesn't quite solve all of the energy problem, however, because sugars can be used to create energy for the cell. But the energy that the cell uses is actually a much smaller chemical, a different chemical called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And that is the chemical that cells need to be able to pay, in terms of energy, for chemical reactions or for things like active transport. In fact, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, but you can remember active transport needs energy by thinking of ATP as active transport. Chemical energy in ATP happens because of the bonds of ATP. ATP has this group A, and then it has 3 phosphate groups. Remember phosphates from our nucleotides? Same groups here. They're joined by these bonds connecting them. And bonds represent energy. So when the cell needs to pay for something like active transport or some synthesis, it will break the bond between the second and third phosphate, releasing that third phosphate to float around and leaving it with ADP, double phosphate or diphosphate to be more technical. The energy that is released is a very little tiny burst of energy that it can use to pay for chemical reactions. So ATP works a lot like our currency, like a money, where it's a small form that can be used in small amounts to pay for reactions. How does it act as energy for the cell? When the bond between the second and third phosphate break, energy is released and can be used to pay for reactions like active transport. And the nice thing about ATP is that it's a cycle. That phosphate and that ADP, they're not destroyed. They can be put back together. How? Well, there we're going to see on the next couple slides. Cell systems require both photosynthesis and a process called cellular respiration, which helps put that ADP and that P back together. Let me explain how it works. I want you to look in this diagram for a couple of things. First, look for atoms of elements like carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, which get rearranged and reused, as we would expect to happen in any chemical reaction, which is what these energy processes are. They're a series of chemical reactions, and they're going to rearrange these atoms, these elements, and as the bonds are formed and broken, they're going to use that for energy. The light energy is where we start. The light energy is absorbed by chloroplasts using the protein chlorophyll in the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis uses that light energy to rearrange what it took in, which was water and CO2, and produces glucose, which it's going to use for the next energy process, and releases oxygen. The mitochondria in cells, including plant cells, can take glucose and the oxygen that is released, and it can break the bonds in C6H12O6, which is glucose, and rearrange them. And as it does that, it uses the energy from the breaking bonds to put back together that ADP and that phosphate to make ATP, which it then can send out into the cell to be used in any place where energy is needed, like at the membrane for active transport. Now, when it breaks and rearranges the bonds in glucose and oxygen, it releases some waste products, water and carbon dioxide, which can then be reused by photosynthesis. So this forms a lovely little cycle. Let's take a look and organize some characteristics of photosynthesis and respiration, the two main energy processes. Which one takes place in a chloroplast? That is photosynthesis. Which one uses light energy? That is also photosynthesis. Which one makes glucose? That is also photosynthesis. Which one breaks down glucose? That is respiration. Which one takes place in the mitochondria? Yep, that's respiration. And which one makes ATP? Again, respiration. So you can see these two work together. And in plant cells, they are able to do both. In animal cells, we rely on plants to do the photosynthesis for us, and then we eat the plants so that we can take the sugar. Let's look at respiration in animals and in any cell. Aerobic respiration in animals requires oxygen, which we get by breathing oxygen in and sending it using the hemoglobin protein in our red blood cells to all the cells of our body. The oxygen enters the cells, and then there it goes to the mitochondria, which will take the sugar we also got from eating, and it will use the sugar and the oxygen to create ATP. Here it is up close. The glucose and the oxygen go through by transport the cell membrane to the mitochondria, which takes the sugar and oxygen, breaks and rearranges bonds, and uses the energy from that process to create ATP, releasing the waste products, carbon dioxide, and water. Cell respiration, by definition, is the process by which cells in plants and animals break down sugar and turn it into energy. And that energy, of course, is ATP. So let's put these in order. First, the oxygen and glucose are going to enter the body and or the cell. That's by transport. And once they have entered the body and or the cell, they've got to get to the mitochondria, which is the site, the place for cellular respiration. And then the mitochondria are going to use the oxygen and the glucose, rearrange and break and make bonds to produce ATP. When they do that, they release carbon dioxide and water as waste products, which must then be transported away. Remember, photosynthesis happens in a chloroplast, and respiration happens in a mitochondria. Plant cells can do photosynthesis and respiration. Animal cells can only do respiration, which is why this animal cell is calling this plant cell an overachiever. Why is that true? Well, think about plant cells. In order to do photosynthesis, what must they have? They have to have a chloroplast. In order to do respiration, what must plant cells have? They have to have mitochondria. And in fact, they have both of those things. Proteins are important for both of these processes because each process is a series of chemical reactions, and those reactions are catalyzed by enzymes. In fact, that's why the folded inner membrane of the mitochondria is so important, because it allows the mitochondria to pack in a lot more enzymes to speed up the chemical reaction of aerobic cellular respiration. So let's do a quick overview of this again. Take a minute, pause this video, and arrange all of these images that you see on the sides to show the process from light energy to ATP. Then come back and check your answers. Check the way you arranged your images and fix any mistakes. How did you do? Did you show that the light energy, where we start, enters the earth as waves released from the sun? And that photosynthesis takes that energy and converts it to sugars? And then cell respiration in the mitochondria takes those sugars and uses the energy in the bonds of the sugar to create ATP, the kind of chemical the cell can use for energy? If so, you've got it. Great job. Next time, we're going to take an even closer look at these two energy processes. Until then, have a great day. I'll see you later.